You are welcome to this webinar. Let us give ourselves 2 minutes to wait for a number of people to join. I could see more people are connecting. And I would like to request you, once you are connected, to mute the mic so that you cannot interfere with the signals of other people's conversations, to have a clear sound and voice of each and everybody. Okay, welcome. So we are going to start at 4 and 5 minutes. So I could see some people getting connected, being admitted. As soon as we clock 4 and 5 minutes, we are going to kick off. And as you get connected, please mute your mic so that you cannot interfere with the communication of others, also interfere with the signal. Most welcome. 1 minute to go. So the program will run like this. First, we shall have a kind of welcoming song that will be played by the musician who has the guitar, Vitali, who has the guitar. Then we, since we are many, it's quite difficult to introduce quite and everybody. After the music, short like 2 minutes or 3 minutes music interlude, we are going to let the panelists introduce themselves. Then we start. Then I will give the floor to our first panelist to give the presentation, and we shall go on. So I would like just to request you, as you get connected, to mute the mic. Okay, good.
Okay.
Defenders has declared this month as a month dedicated to well-being, mental well-being. A series of statements and activities have been going on throughout this month. And we are having now a webinar specifically on mental well-being to to create a kind of resilient HRDs to deal with this self-isolation and also imposed isolation by COVID-19. I would like to request Vitali Mayembe to strum the guitar and kick us off with the music. Vitali, as you wait for the mic checks by the musician, I would like just to give the floor to the panelists to introduce themselves. The first panelist would be, to take the floor, would be Gugu Shabalala. And please, I would like just to ask for forgiveness. If I pronounce your name badly, don't be offended, please. Gugu Shabalala, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that, Javier. Definitely you pronounced it correctly. My name is Gugu Shabalala. I work for the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation, CSVR for short, as a senior psychosocial and trauma professional. I've been working in this field for more than 10 years, and I'm really glad to be part of this project, and hopefully we will have an interesting and mentally stimulating conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gugu Shabalala. I would like just to give the floor to Hajel El-Kefi. Hajel El-Kefi, can you hear me?
Janvier?
Yes, please.
Haja is still joining.
Great.
Vitali should be ready with a song.
Okay, Vitali Mayembe, please, if you're ready, strum the guitar strings and kick us off. Vitali, we are waiting for the music. Vitali, I could, okay, as we wait for Vitali to check the mic, I would like you to also give the floor to the third panelist, Jamila Wahome. Hello. Internet, I think connection has been an issue because I could see the musician, the artist, but you see now he has gone off, and I could even hear some check of the mic in the background, but now he's off. All right. So I would like just to invite Memli to give us a kind of introduction as we wait for these important panelists to join Memory, can you hear me? You have 5 minutes, please. Okay, Memory also, it seems that she's not really. Caris, could you give us a 5 minutes introduction and also update us what we've been working on? As we wait, Vitaly, I could see Vitaly is checking the mic and so forth. Caris, the floor is yours, please.
Hey, thank you very much, Janvier. And thank you everyone who is joining us for this webinar. Just like Janvier has already mentioned, on the webinar that we had on the 27th of May that was hosted and chaired by Mr. Hassan Shire, we declared at Defend Defenders that June would be the month of mental well-being for human rights defenders. I know that we are all aware of the COVID-19 crisis and the challenges that it presents to human rights defenders, not only in terms of our work, not only in terms of the new setup, the new norms that we have to cope with, but also it presents a new challenge when it comes to our mental and our well-being, so to say. And so for us to make adjustments in our schedules, I hear a bit of echo.
Vitaly, you can mute the mic. As soon as Caris finishes, you are going to start. Thank you. Caris, go ahead.
Perfect. And I was saying that, so as we make other adjustments in our work schedules and all of that, we also have to take care of our mental well-being in order to be able to, continue to do the work that we know best how to do, which is human rights activism. Human rights activism in itself can be very draining emotionally and psychosocially. And, at times we even get traumatized because of the experiences that we go through that includes torture. And I am glad to mention that today is actually International Day against torture. And so sometimes the torture that we go through has emotional and psychosocial effects on us. And the torture or the violations that we witness others that we are fighting for go through also brings about secondary trauma to us as human rights defenders. We shall be talking about this a little more in depth. One of the panelists is going to be particularly talking about trauma. Also, the COVID crisis has brought us to a place of isolation, and we cannot interact as freely as we used to interact. And that also has psychosocial effects on us. Again, another panelist is going to be taking us deeply into that discussion of connectedness versus isolation during this crisis. The other topic that we'll be handling by another panelist is going to be just issues of self-management. We're going to understand what self-management is and why it is important for us to undertake self-management during these times, and also as activists beyond now when we're in the COVID crisis. Again, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm hoping that the panelists are now in and all is set to go. Janvier, over to you.
Thank you, Caris. And I could see Jamila, then Nosi, Hajel also has joined. So Before I give the floor to Jamila and El Kefi, I would like just to invite Vitali Mayembe to play the music. Mayembe, the floor is yours. Unmute the mic, sir. Unmute the mic. The microphone, Mayembe, microphone is not, is muted, unmuted.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, please. Go ahead, strum the strings of the guitar and just entertain us as we get some kind of resilience.
Today is my day. Today is my day. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na 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 na. Today is my last day to smoke. I have been a heavy smoker. I've smoked the imported and exported one. Oh, please, please, roll for me a big one. I wanna smoke for the last time. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na, 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 na. Welcome to the performance. I feel very lucky and blessed to perform before you. You are a few people who are courageous enough to listen to this rebel music, especially in this time when life is too tough. A lot of people are suffering from lack of freedom, lack of food, and lack of medicine, suffering from low levels of education, low salaries, and low blood pressure. In this time, when others are sitting on their bottoms, enjoying your blessings, stealing, killing, and suffering from high salaries, high tax robberies, high expenditures, high profit, and high blood pressure. In this time, when music is abused by the people in power, controllers who control the media, which then dictate what good music is. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na, na, na. Today is my day. Today is my day. Oh, today is my day. Oh, na, 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 na.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vitali Mayembe. And I would like just to ask for forgiveness if I mispronounced your name.
Yeah.
What a soothing sound of music, and the strumming of the guitar strings are really very important. They touch our mind and our souls. They reach our hearts as we continue our work. I would like just to welcome Hassan Shire. If Hassan Shire, you can hear me, you can just give us a morale booster for 3 minutes, then we continue.
No, truly, I thank you so much, Mr. President Javier, for organizing this important webinar together with the ICT team. I won't see many videos, but I want to greet you, all of you. Thank you for joining us. You know, this month, as you all recall that, which is ending, was the month for well-being of human rights defenders. Now, sometime when I'm sleeping, and I wake up like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, because these days, you know, you only remain at home, so you sleep early. I wake up and then wonder, where we are going when things will be open, when our lives will become normal. And that question I don't have to answer yet. And no one has the answer. We are seeing relapsing, relaunch itself, this enemy, invisible enemy, is becoming really trackless. So together, coupled with the work we do and challenges we face in our own, all that things, create some sort of a tension in mind, or burnout sometimes fatigue things. But this month, we dedicated rightly to have all of us to counsel each other, to talk to each other, to sing a song, to recite a poem, to work together, to run together, to Zoom together, to party together virtually, and to continue, appearance of some sort of resemblance of normalcy in this abnormal time. So I thank you guys for really our well-being team and our ICT team and all the other panelists who are also there. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to listen to you and to enjoy the session. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. I just introduced first the one panelist, Kuku Shabalala, while we were admitting more participants, and I would like just to have this opportunity also to invite Jamila. Jamila, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself just in 3 minutes, 3 minutes maximum.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, ma'am. We can hear you. Yes, please, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamila Wahome from Nairobi. As the poster says, I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm a trainer. I am involved in doing group and individual sessions. I do assessments, I teach, I lecture, and I'm also a certified mediator. I've been involved with human rights defenders, especially clients mostly coming from the informal sector with different organizations, mainly in Nairobi, in Mathare, that is in Nairobi, Kayole, Kariobangi, Kiamaiko, Isili, quite a bit of, those are the informal sectors that are in Nairobi. I've also worked with clients and given them psychosocial support in Malindi and Mombasa. And in this profession, I've had the opportunity of meeting victims of police brutality and their families, victims who have gone through a lot of trauma, a lot of depression as a result of extrajudicial killings. And also I've had the opportunity of working with victims who their families are affected by violence extremism, especially in Mombasa. And in my work, when I'm dealing with most of these clients, I get people who are very broken, very traumatized, depressed, where there's a lot of hopelessness, helplessness, and even suicide. In my job as a therapist, my work is to give them hope, and that is what we call psychosocial support. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mama Jamila. The floor, I would like to give the floor to Elikefi. Elikefi, the floor is yours, Elikefi.
Hello, everyone. I am HRDs. I'm from Tunisia. And I will speak in French. I don't know if there is any translation for participants.
I'm going to assist, ma'am. I'm going to assist.
OK, thank you. Voilà, je m'appelle HRDs, je suis psychologue clinicienne et je suis formatrice. Donc, je viens de la Tunisie, un pays du nord d'Afrique qui a connu des dictatures, qui a connu aussi une révolution. Donc, j'ai eu tout au long de mon parcours en tant que professionnelle, mais aussi en tant que clinicienne. Donc,
merci beaucoup. Vous pouvez donc essayer donc de parler un peu et aussi couper et aussi reprendre parce que je dois donc traduire.
D'accord.
Okay. She's Hajar El-Kafi, a psycho-clinician in Tunisia. She's been assisting, giving support to human rights defenders, also dealing with other cases of stress management. So I would request her to be speaking, then stop, then I translate, because we have not thought of the simultaneous translation. Kafi, à vous la parole encore.
Merci. Alors, j'ai eu l'occasion en fait d'accompagner plusieurs défenseurs de droits de l'homme, mais aussi des professionnels qui accompagnent des victimes de traumatisme et de violence et plusieurs populations vulnérables. Et donc, d'où l'importance justement que je donne beaucoup au bien-être, à la santé psychologique.
At least translate. Merci beaucoup.
Sorry.
Ça va bien. I have been giving physical assistance, also psychological assistance to human rights defenders, to vulnerable groups of people and other people, victims of violence. And we have also been helping the humanity in general, human beings in general. Merci. Merci Hajar El-Kafi. C'est la brève donc présentation. Vous allez avoir donc la parole. Thank you very much, Hajar El-Kafi. You've given a brief introduction to what you do, and you will have more chances to give more presentation. Of course, I will like to request you, when you are not speaking, you can just mute the mic. Vitali Mayembe, just 1 minute only of just the soothing music sound from those ends of Tanzania. Music is universal. Please give us just 1 minute, and I will, as the panelists are preparing what to present to us, please. Unmute the mic, Vitali Mayembe, unmute the mic. 1 minute, yeah. 1 minute, well, oh, yes, you on air, please, go ahead. Strum the strings of this guitar.
Okay. Ficha kino chako, ficha we kino chako, ko namsema kweli, lipo hatarinio, liniwe litakwepa kisu kimeshanolewa, leo ubabwaje ovyo. I'm not a soldier, I'm not a rebel, I'm just a fighter. Not a soldier, not a rebel, just a fighter. I fight alone with my music to save my people. Some of our people will have large amount of money and spend on their life while others have nothing. Those who have received this privilege, they must still pay back sacrifice like others have made. They are like a man who has been given no food from a starving village in order that he may bring back surplus from far distance. If young men who have been given education by the people of this republic and fail to use their knowledge for the development of this nation, then they are traitors and slaves. This is what I've been taught by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere on May Day 1964. My name is Bichari Maembe. I aim to serve my people with all I've got, and I will always render services to people until the day comes for me to join my ancestors. I'm not a soldier, I'm not a rebel, I'm just a fighter. Not a soldier, not a rebel, just a fighter. I fight alone with my music to save my people.
Thank you very much. Kudos to you. Please mute the mic. Thank you very much. You could hear as a psychologist, you hear as just an amateur psychologist, I could just hear some kind of a peace of mind and also communicating to everyone universally. And well, with the little Swahili that I know, there is sana. Sana means well. And from Latin say, mensa sana corpore sin corpore sano. It's a healthy mind in healthy body. We may have good health and so forth, but when our mind is not doing well, we may not really achieve what we are supposed to achieve. So we are going to have a discussion from the panelists, from Arikefi, then Gugu Shabalala, then Jamila Wahome. They are going to discuss three topics dealing with the trauma and its effect, connectedness during isolation, especially during COVID-19 or self-isolation when you are threatened, and also self-management. So I would like just to give the floor first to Gugu Shabalala. Each panelist will have only 10 minutes. So you make sure you summarize what you are discussing. Then if you have some more materials to share with this beautiful team of human rights defenders across the world, we are going to share with them. So you've shared some of the presentations, and by the end of this webinar, we are going to share with them. Gugu Shabalala, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Jean-Pierre. I'm laughing because I remember us having the conversation about me going first. But thank you for the opportunity and for everyone for joining us on a Friday afternoon and taking the time to come and listen to us as we speak about mental well-being, or just well-being as a whole for human rights defenders, or sustainable human rights activism. Today I'm going to be speaking about connectedness and its importance in this time, as most of us in the different countries that we are in are currently dealing with COVID, the pandemic that is unprecedented. We are all having to redo things, to have to rethink how we connect with each other, how we stay connected, even with family members. Some people have been forced into isolation or quarantine, depending on what is happening. There's been lockdowns. Most of us have not been in our offices. In South Africa, we haven't been in our office since March. So it's been long periods where the usual way in which that we connect with each other, the physical connection that we rely on, we haven't been able to utilize that. We find ourselves in a new space where we are isolated, either forcefully because of government lockdowns or because we're so scared. We have this anxiety and we are under distress. We don't know whether it is safe to go outside. So most of us are rather deciding to stay indoors in order to protect ourselves from infections that are out there, because none of us know how this thing goes. So we're being cautious and we're staying away. And I think for HRDs, this is quite a common thing, because most of them, most of the time, have to self-isolate, have to isolate from family members, you have to isolate from other colleagues, because if you share what is happening in your struggle or in your cause, you might be risking those colleagues, you might be risking your family. So what happens is then that most HRDs then rather tend to keep to themselves and not share pretty much what is happening, even when they're under distress, because they face quite a lot of persecution. Earlier on, when Jamila was introducing herself, she spoke about all the atrocities and violations that HRDs have to endure at the hands of the state, the different country states, where they come from. So you find that because of this fear, the fear of incriminating or even having too much information out there with family members, with colleagues, HRDs would rather keep to themselves and isolate themselves and to protect family members. So with all of that, the isolation is familiar. And even when some HRDs are forced to flee their home countries to go to a third country for their own protection, you find that they get isolated. They are in a new environment where they don't have the usual connections that they used to. Even communicating with family members becomes an issue, or even if you can communicate, there's certain things that you can't share in order to protect the ones that you love. So this is a familiar situation, which if we get caught up in it, or if we accept the isolation, we may find ourselves greatly affected, not just in terms of missing family members, but there's the mental wellness that comes with being connected. So when you are connected to people, you have the support, you have the, as human beings, you have you have one of your core needs fulfilled. You are able to get something from that connection. There's a fulfillment that comes with being connected to others, and it is very important. I know for me, during this time, connecting to my colleagues, even though we can't be physically together, has been very important, because that has made me feel like I still belong to this bigger group, even though we're not physically in the same space. I felt like, okay, there's still people who share in the same cause as me, and these people are able to hear me out, to affirm me, to give me that validation as I continue doing the work that I need to. And it's important, and I can't stress this enough, in the work of HRDs, to stay connected, to be with other people. It can't be, I know that it can't be physical most of the time, but to maintain a connection. And so when one feels like you're all alone, you can't be with people who can connect with you, it's important to even reach out to professionals, because most of the time you can't chat at home, because you don't want to scare them. You're scared that they're gonna say, leave this thing, you're putting us in danger, or it's putting your life in danger. So you end up just keeping to yourself. So it's important that you make the connection to that professional, to that organization that does provide psychosocial support, just to be able to have someone that you can share with, someone who's able to hear you out, to give you the space, a safe space to talk about what is happening inside of you, what is happening in your world, and what are your fears, the fears that you're experiencing. Because most of the time, because of the work that you do, you can feel quite alone, even when you are within a bigger struggle connected to other people or working with other people. There's a sense of isolation, the fear that if I share too much, if I say I'm scared, I can't go and do this because I fear that my phone can get bugged, my family may be threatened. You fear that then people will say, well, this is the struggle, you took this up, you must be, when you took on this HRD work, you must be ready to fight with your life. So all the fears and the anxieties and the distress that you feel normally gets suppressed and it stays inside of you. And that can isolate an individual. It can isolate you from your colleagues. It can isolate you from your family. It can just create this sense of being alone, not being surrounded. Even when you do work with people, it can create this sense of disconnectedness. So it's important that when one is working, even in this, with the sensitive issue of human rights, that one stays connected and establishes a social support system. Research has shown that people who receive social support or who engage or who seek out social support tend to recover faster from traumatic events such as torture, because that helps them, that sense of not being alone, of being held by other people can lighten the load. And we've all heard of that a problem shared is a problem solved. So literally being connected to other people can create that sense of not being stuck with the problem alone, or it can just, it relieves, it helps with relieving. Like even with issues around depression and anxiety, people who are connected have a way, or they are able to deal better with depression and anxiety and other social distresses. And even the one that is taboo that most people don't talk about, suicidality, where people may feel emotions, they feel like they want to take their lives, things are not working out, they are stuck, but they don't want to share with family because it will scare them. If I hear that my loved one is thinking about death, even if they're not planning to, but that the fact, and I know for us Africans, I don't know about East Africa, but in South Africa, in my family, you don't even talk about death because that's like you're inviting it. So saying to my family member, you know, there are times when I feel like giving up and I just want things to end, would scare them. It would make them feel like they can't leave me alone. They have to watch me all the time, 24/7. And that further then makes me feel bad for them, creating this worry for other people who are part of my life. So it's important that one engages in these and sets boundaries around this connectedness. And I think this pandemic is teaching us that one doesn't have to stay connected 24/7. But you can set boundaries around when and the type of engagement and what that engagement brings into your life. So it's not about having 50 people to talk to. It's about it's the quality of the connection. So if one has 2 friends, but those friends are friends who are able to hear you out, who are able to chat with you and you don't have to censor yourself, that's more valuable than having 50 friends who you only connect with just for alcohol or for partying, or you can just share very light issues. So those are things connecting in a quality relationships. So either intimately in a group or even intrapersonally connecting with yourself. And a lot of the times we feel emotions as a result of this struggle that we've taken as HRDs, that when you are in a space where you don't want, when you're in a space where you need the connection, most of the time that connection you cannot access because of the sensitivity of the kind of work that you do. So it's important to be able to even engage yourself as an individual to be able to name what you're feeling, because it can be overwhelming to feel something, but you can't admit to yourself. You're so disconnected even with your own body, with your own minds, with your own mind, with your own emotions. So gaining that, so connecting on an individual level, connecting on the next level with family members, and connecting on a bigger societal, whether it be group, it could be church, it could be work, it could be finding ways to connect with people, because you can be with people and still feel isolated. That is quite common, because when you have things that are inside of you that you cannot share, that you have to guard, then you can be in a space and still not feel like those people know you, or they get to truly be with you, because you have emotions, you have thoughts that you are keeping inside of yourself. So as much as we don't want to be isolating, we don't want to be going out there, and it's important, please don't say Gugu said we must now connect and go out and meet people. But what I'm saying is, let's look at the quality of the relationships that we have, even now in the space. Look at how can you connect virtually. I think this is so nice, because when you connect virtually, we can set an appointment and say, okay, my friend, Zoom me between 1 and 2. And we Zoom each other, we finish, and that is it. So it's connection within boundaries. It doesn't have to, you don't have to overextend yourself to a point where the connection takes from you. Connection is supposed to be reciprocal. So it's supposed to give you, and you're supposed to give to the other person that you are connecting with, in order to maintain this well-being. Like, connectedness is not only good for your mental health, but it's also good for your physical health as well. The recovery rate when you are able to be with people. I mean, this was very interesting for me, that when you're able to engage with people on a social level, you actually develop, I don't know, I should have known at my age, but you're able to develop this, your immune system is able to be strengthened, because as you engage with people, then your body builds these antibodies against certain viruses or certain illnesses. So connection is not just good for you on a mental level or just for the social connection, but it's also good for you on a physical level and socially as well. That when you are part of a group, when you belong to a cause, that becomes something that is greater. That even when things do become difficult, there are people that you can reach out to who can give you that power to continue, and who can strengthen you in doing more as you continue doing the work that is very difficult. Because we can see with COVID, even it's become very clear that some states still engage in quite a lot of, they became militarized, and the militarization in most countries, the first thing you saw was a high number of police, high number of military being present in the street, engaging with society. So with that happening, then that then says, okay, there's still quite a lot of work for human rights defenders. There's still quite a lot of work that we have to continue. There's still quite a lot of violations that we have to fight. There's been an increase in number of torture cases that are being reported, police brutality cases that are reported all over. Even here in South Africa, we've seen quite a lot of cases. There's an increase in the number of cases that are being reported. And what that says is that the work is still it's growing instead of decreasing. And it will need us to be able to re-strategize and find this new normal way of doing things. The things that we've normally relied on. We could say we're hosting a meeting, a summit, and have these discussions in one room, in one country, and all of us can meet and connect there. But all of a sudden, we are not able to do that. How then do we still ensure that the work that we're doing continues, even as we are unable to physically connect? Because the connection is still as important for the work that we do. Sorry about that, Jean-Pierre. And just as I'm closing off,
yes, please. Please close. Conclude, please. Can you? Okay. Thank you. We will have time to conclude. And
Okay.
I'm really happy that you've touched an important issue. And this event now we are having is part of the connectedness. We have started now the connectedness to people, and I've realized that you mentioned interpersonal connectedness, where you can just look for friends, trusted friends, quality, then also your church and family members. Not all family members are the confidant where you can confide your information. And there are things you can connect to. You can just confide in your father, mother, brother, sister, and the all family members or darlings. But there are things that you cannot because they can scare them. So we need to also to factor in professional counseling, like you confide your secret, your worries, anxiety to a person, a third party who is there to keep your secrets as the doctor, what I can call mental health doctor or psychologist, psychoanalyst, and so forth. And also, we can also have what you call intrapersonal connectedness, where we write our worries and so forth as it comes from our mind, going down on a paper. We are just trying to just getting a relief from that side. So it's really interesting that we re-strategize on how to get connected during the isolation period, whether it is a voluntary or a forcible isolation. Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor to Jamila Waome. Then after Jamila Waome, Vitali will play one song just on just 2 minutes to warm up so that they can get also courage to speak two languages at a go. Thank you very much. Waome, the floor is yours. Then after Vitali Mayepe will be the one to play the interlude. Waome, Jamila, Mama, the floor is yours. Waome.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, please. Sometimes with this technology, we are now also learning. Life is full of mysteries and lessons. Every day we have to wake up and learn, and every day is a university. Please, Jamila Waome, all our
thank you very much.
eyes and ears, we are just for you.
Yes,
10
I'll
minutes.
be speaking about 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Gosh, that's really short. I'll be speaking about self-management. And self-management is nothing very technical, but just the management of the self. It's managing yourself. And when we talk about managing yourself, we cannot not talk about your mental well-being. So when we talk about mental well-being, we're talking about how is your mental state? How are you doing mentally? What is your state of your mind? How are you emotionally? How are you physically? Because we cannot talk about mental wellness and not talk about the physical wellness. So let's start with just talking a little bit about what is mental well-being. Mental well-being is how healthy the mind is. And when we're talking about how healthy the mind is, we're talking about emotional health. How do you process the information that you receive? How have you been processing the COVID-19 information that we've been getting left, right, and center? And then again, we talk about the psychological health. As a psychologist, we talk about your thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Thoughts, feelings, and then how do you behave? We were told about COVID-19. how did you feel, and then how did you behave? And then psychological health also zeroes in on perceptions. Our perceptions is about how we take in the information and what we do with that information, depending on our background, depending on our nurturing, depending on our nurturing, depending on even where we are, what part of the world are we? And then again, I'm still trying to talk about mental well-being. I'll talk about social health. Human beings are social beings. And you've had Google talking about connectedness. We cannot live alone. We live with families. We live in communities. And human beings need to have the ability to cope with the normal stresses of life and contribute positively to the community. So I pose a question to you. What have you come with since March? Was it March? When it became apparently clear that there's a pandemic called COVID-19, new to all of us. Nobody had had anything like that, new to the medics. So how did you process that information? So let me go a little bit to the background of the mental state of Africa and how people view mental illness in Africa. Mostly people come from, when you think about health, well-being, and being healthy, they just talk about the physical and they neglect the psychological well-being. Mental states in Africa has come from a background of ignorant about those living with mental health problems. There's also the stigma, cultural and traditional beliefs that because you have a mental illness, it's connected to some evil spirits. And nobody wants to be connected to any evil spirit. And then also the mistaken belief that mental illness is untreatable. And you'll see people locking in rooms, in institutions, people who have mental illness. However, it's still a work in progress. And I know South Africa and Northern Africa are more advanced when it comes to mental health than the rest of the continent. And then human rights organizations have started to incorporate well-being. And they've just given it 2 words without even the hyphen, because when well-being has the hyphen, it means something else. They've started to incorporate well-being to involve the psychological state of people in activism, human rights defenders, because we cannot separate mental health and psychological health. So let's talk about a few dimensions of well-being. Well-being has a connotation of being personal. You know, when we started, we talked about the self-management. It's your personal responsibility. Even if you're a human rights defender, even if you're a human rights activist, there's a personal responsibility of human rights activists like taking care of others. They're the voice of the voiceless. But who takes care of you? How well do you take care of yourself before you start taking care of others? So when we come to self-management, we'll talk about the emotional part of self-management. How well do you take care of your emotions? Are you able to cope with the stresses of life? We've just discussed that life has its normal stresses. So now in comes in COVID-19. So how do you manage those stress levels? Do you know how to identify them and handle them well? And we need to learn effective ways of coping with the negative effects of COVID-19 in our personal lives and in our human rights activism. Because since when come March till now, we've just been hearing negative and negative and negative about COVID-19. So what do you feel? Do you feel angry? Do you feel scared? What do you feel? What emotions come to you when you hear COVID-19? Next, I'll talk about the environment. We have to be aware that our environment is really what we are used to. Like Google said, our normal. It's what we are used to. It's been affected. And now, how are we aware that our environment has been affected? And once our environment is affected, it affects our daily habits in the physical environment. Like we've had to stay home, we've had to social distance, all those names that we never knew. That's our environment. And in as much as our environment has changed, how are we attempting to live a more balanced lifestyle with this new change of the environment? And then I'll talk about the financial management. Being satisfied with where you are currently in your financial situation. Understanding your money right now. Like in Nairobi, we were told 1.5 million people have lost their jobs. Can you imagine that impact on their families, on their support? So, and then you need to understand the self and the COVID-19. What needs to stop financially and what needs to continue so that you make solid financial decisions that will continue even past COVID-19, if we will have a date like past COVID-19. Next, we'll talk about intellectual. It's important to understand the world around you. Find logical solutions to the current situations. Like we've been doing, like Google said, the norm. But this is something new, so we need to do something different. We need to be cognizant of the creative abilities that we have. Like we saw people, I don't know whether this happens in other countries. In Nairobi, we've been seeing people have made their car boots into shops. They're selling fruits, they're selling milk, they're selling eggs. I've bought milk, I've bought eggs from somebody's boot because they realize we have to do something new. We have to earn money. We have to do something. And also continued active participation in our cultural and community activities. Like we said, we are social beings. It cannot come to an end. Activism is normally a communal activity. So because there's COVID-19, do we stop our activism? And if we're going to do it, how are we going to do this so that we stay safe? Remember, this is personal. There's a personal initiative here. There's the self-management. You're managing yourself. Next, I'll talk about occupational. What do you love to do? I'm a psychologist. I'm passionate about psychology. But do I have extra skills? Do I have hobbies? What makes you happy? The human being has an innate need to feel safe, to feel valued, to be validated. So what else can you do? We've been working all through and come February and our lives just came upside down. So what else can we do? Apart from the usual that we've been doing, what else can you do? You've seen people having to sell things from their booths. They've just become very creative because they realize that they need to enrich themselves. They need to get some personal satisfaction from what they're doing. Next, I'll talk about the physical. Physical is, we're always talking about the physical and neglecting the mental. So I won't not dwell much on the physical. The need for regular exercises. And most times people say there's no time to exercise, but now we have time. Time is actually what we have. And then proper diet, healthy foods, fresh vegetables, fruits, nuts, and do not forget to drink water. Diet is everything. You can never go wrong with diet. And then adequate sleep. In psychology, we always have to emphasize on sleep. Too much sleep is bad, and too little sleep is also bad. An adult needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And I know now we have so much time. So you go beyond 9, you wake up so tired. You go beyond, below 7, again you wake up. So there's an average of how much sleep to help in our managing ourselves. Next, I'll talk about spiritual. You can be spiritual and not religious, but you cannot be religious and not spiritual. So you need to have clear sets of beliefs that you live according to certain morals, according to certain values and ethics, and expanding your sense of purpose. What are your attitudes? What are your beliefs? What are your values? What do you stand for? You stand for human rights. Hence, you are there, going out to look out for others. But right now, it's time to look out for you. What is your purpose? What is your goal? Yes, you're doing a good job looking out for others, but we also need to look out for you. So I'll talk about a few practical ways of self-management. Number one, like Google said, connecting with others. Human beings are social beings. We cannot say that enough. So do you know your neighbor? Are you your brother's keeper? Before we met everybody, we were all strangers. But we start off from somewhere, strike up a conversation. Enter all these Google meetings, all the Zoom meetings. There are so many. But go in and hear what people have to say. You don't even have to say anything. You can just keep quiet and just listen. But that listening, you'll definitely come out with something positive. Plan events, because as we are having these meetings, as soon as we are safe to go out after COVID-19, we'll just implement what we have been doing online. Another practical way of self-management is physical exercises. Yes, the gyms are closed. Yes, you want to exercise, but you can exercise even in the comfort of your bedroom. You do not need a gym. And right now, what we have is time. So you can do it 3 times a week, once a week, any time of the day. But for heaven's sake, do some exercise. Or you can dance, you can walk, you can cycle, or you can even do yoga. And also those who are interested in martial arts, you can try and do a little bit of Bruce Lee tactics. And they are fun and you will enjoy, because right now we are trying to take care of ourselves. We've been taking care of people for so long, and it's now time to manage ourselves. Another practical way of self-management is learning. The comfort zone is a very nice place where we are just doing what we are comfortable doing. So how do we grow when we are comfortable? We can't grow. And the best way to start that is, I pose a question to my audience. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you were told money was not an issue, you just woke up and you're told, do anything you want to do without thinking about money, what would you do different? That would be a good start. Just what would you do different? Yeah. Surround yourself with people who share your interests, people who have your same values. Because we can't go out, that doesn't mean we can't do something in our comfort of the house. If you want something you never had, then you need to do something that you have never done before. And the other one is, another practical way of self-management is helping others. There's something very noble about doing charity work. There's something very noble about doing activism work, whether it's giving a hand, whether it's just supporting an old person, a young person. There's something very noble and very humbling in helping. And that's why you'll see most people, most organizations will go out of their way to assist where they can. So for you who is in activism and you're at home now, you can start by decluttering your house. Declutter means all those things that you don't need and you need to get rid of, put it to good use. Somebody could use that clutter. And also those things that you think, oh, after COVID-19, right now, we do not have that word that tells us after COVID-19, we're still within COVID-19. Other practical ways of self-management includes taking notice of what you have. Happiness is closer than we anticipate it to be. So you don't have to run outside to look for happiness. Look at your surroundings. Notice what you are feeling at this very moment. Today, 26th of June, what is it that you have noticed today? Notice those things that you don't normally notice. You don't notice how much you don't notice until you notice what you have not been noticing. I know that sounds like a tongue twister, but if you read it slowly, you do not notice how much you don't notice until you notice what you have not been noticing. So we don't have to go and look for happiness out there, within here. Because right now it's time to take care of the self, as well as we're connecting with the others. But we're so used to taking care of others. We're so used to going to places. And I know nobody woke up and taught us how to wake up, dress, and stay in the house. But now we have to learn the hard way. In human rights activism, we spend most of the time looking out for others. Now it's time to look out for yourself. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Jamila.
Thank you, Rich. It's so interesting that problems that we may face in life, either inherent to life growth or brought by human beings, by environment and others. They are just come to you from outside. We need to be able to manage those problems and change them into solutions so that we can continue to move on and continue our human rights work. Vitali Mayembe, we need that string that can touch our hearts. Then we can move on with the El Kefi. Vitali. Vitali Mayembe. He may be having some, Vitali may be having some connection challenges. And so we started with connectedness. Then we went back to self-management, self-care. So we are going to discuss trauma and its effect. But before we do that, as the Hajjal El Kefi is preparing herself, Vitali, can you hear me, Vitali? Well, okay. Seems that the connection is not really doing us favor. But what he sang, he said, I'm not a soldier, I'm not a politician, but I'm a fighter, using my music, using my pen, using the guitar, using any kind of peaceful means. We are peaceful freedom fighters, not the ones who use guns to kill people, though they may be doing it in the name of human rights. But for us, our method that we use is non-violence and peaceful means. Hajjal Al-Kefi. Hajjal Al-Kefi, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez, s'il vous plaît?
Parfaitement. Vous m'entendez?
Merci. Oui, je vous attends, merci. Alors, je voudrais que donc vous commenciez à présenter donc dans 10 minutes, soyez brèves. Et nous avons eu donc quelques problèmes de connexion. J'aimerais qu'on écoutait donc la musique pour bien vous inviter dans la présentation. Mais normalement, nous sommes prêts donc à vous écouter.
Alors juste pour Caris, pour la présentation, pas tout de suite. Voilà. Je vais parler un peu du traumatisme. C'est quoi le traumatisme? C'est quoi l'impact du traumatisme? Et c'est quoi la relation entre le traumatisme et les activistes des droits de l'homme? Ou alors des professionnels qui accompagnent aussi les activistes des droits de l'homme et qui sont eux-mêmes et elles-mêmes des défenseurs de droits de l'homme. Alors,
thank you very much. And I'm going just to discuss about trauma. What is trauma? What is the effect of trauma? What is the relation between trauma and human rights work and also human rights defenders? And also how the human rights defenders and trauma counseling, professionals deal with the trauma of human rights defenders.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, déjà pour commencer, on parle aujourd'hui de la santé psychologique, on parle de l'importance du bien-être, on parle de l'importance d'avoir des stratégies de bien-être pour les activistes de droits de l'homme pour qu'on puisse justement continuer à aller mieux et à être plus efficace avec soi-même, avec son entourage et dans ce qu'on fait. Mais
we normally don't talk about, nowadays we normally talk about psychological health so that we can be able to have a mental well-being, and also we can relate well with the community that surround us and the people whom we work with, and also we can be effective in our work.
Pour ça, il faut déjà commencer à reconnaître ses propres émotions, à reconnaître les risques qu'on prend sur sa santé mentale, sur son équilibre psychologique en tant qu'activiste de droits de l'homme. Bien sûr, ça dépend du contexte.
We need to recognize our emotions. We need to be able to recognize the status of our mental health, and also we need to have to recognize the balance, the balance between physical and mental health. So we need to be able to recognize that.
Thank you. But also the risks that we take as an activist for human rights and human rights defenders. It's important for our values, but it's also a high risk for our mental health. Donc tout d'abord, c'est quoi le traumatisme? Si on peut passer...
Qu'est-ce que le traumatisme?
Voilà. Donc c'est pardon. Donc, c'est une blessure ou un choc émotionnel qui affecte le développement psychologique et durable de la personne. Donc, le traumatisme, c'est un grand changement. On peut appeler ça comme ça. Ce changement, en général, c'est un changement brusque. C'est un changement qui fait mal sur le plan psychologique et qui nous change d'une manière assez durable. Le changement peut être un changement des fois de contexte, par exemple, le changement d'une situation à une autre, le changement de pays à un autre, le changement de repère, d'une manière générale, peut faire office de traumatisme, mais surtout quand on subit des violences, quand on subit de la torture, quand on subit de la persécution, ça peut être aussi vécu comme un traumatisme et donc comme un choc émotionnel qui nous change profondément de l'intérieur.
Trauma, as explained when here it's posted, it's an injury or emotional shock that affects our being and affects also our psychological and sustainable development. Trauma is a sudden change in our lives that has a durable impact on the way we do things. The change may be of context from context to another, the change from the country to a country, also the way we position ourselves to others. And also we have the HRDs who have faced violence, persecution, and other sorts of violations whose mental health being has been disturbed. So they face what we call trauma.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, donc, pour plusieurs personnes qui subissent un traumatisme, donc si elles ne sont pas prises à charge ou en charge à temps, elles peuvent développer ce qu'on appelle le syndrome de stress post-traumatique ou le PTSD en anglais.
When trauma victims are not handled, given proper care on time, they can develop what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
Voilà. Donc, on a tendance, je ne sais pas ça dépend des pays, mais on a tendance, quand on entend le mot stress, de banaliser un peu ou de relativiser un peu ce que c'est que de subir un stress. Le stress post-traumatique n'est pas juste le stress qu'on utilise ou qu'on commente dans notre vie de tous les jours. C'est vraiment une maladie assez grave et assez conséquente pour le développement psychologique de la personne et pour son équilibre psychologique. Donc, on va voir quels sont les symptômes de ce qu'on appelle le PTSD.
Voilà, the stress, the way we use it in our daily lives, we tend to really trivialize it, but we need to understand that the post-traumatic stress disorder is really a mental disease that needs to be handled with care. And from country to country and cultures, we normally use stress just to mention some problems that we've had, or just or any kind of consequence that we have experienced. But normally we need to understand that post-traumatic stress disorder is a real mental disease and it cannot be taken just lightly.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, il y a deux types de stress post-traumatique. Le premier type, donc quand on est exposé à un événement donc unique ou à un traumatisme unique résultant d'un seul événement soudain et inattendu, comme par exemple une violence subie dans la rue, un accident de voiture, la mort de quelqu'un de proche, etc., etc. Donc c'est un événement qui nous affecte sur le plan émotionnel, mais c'est un événement unique et qui arrive de manière soudaine et brutale.
When we get trauma, especially when an accident or sudden event, it becomes just a unique state of mind that affects our emotions, and that unexpected event can disturb our psychological balance.
Et c'est le premier type de stress post-traumatique.
This is the first type of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Donc, le deuxième type du stress post-traumatique, il résulte de traumatismes répétés découlant d'incidents survenus sur une longue période, y compris donc, les actes de violence physique, sexuelle, psychologique, etc. Par exemple, les victimes de torture, les prisonniers politiques, les personnes qui ont subi des violences, des persécutions sur une longue période ont plus de risques de développer ce second type de stress post-traumatique.
The second type of stress is repeated stress, which results from a repeated incident or traumatizing, such as physical, psychological, and sexual violence. The most vulnerable categories of HRDs, or people who suffer from this repeated trauma, torture victims, political prisoners, and also those who have experienced persecution for a long time.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, comment on reconnaît si on a quelques événements, des conséquences ou un impact d'événements traumatiques? Donc, il y a des symptômes qui caractérisent ce stress post-traumatique. Donc, les symptômes sont par exemple des reviviscences, donc comme revivre l'événement traumatique encore et encore, des souvenirs répétitifs et envahissants de l'événement, des cauchemars, des flashbacks, de l'évitement, donc on essaie d'éviter les souvenirs, les pensées, les personnes, les éléments qui nous rappellent ce traumatisme ou ce qu'on a subi. Donc des lieux, des activités, des objets, des situations, etc. Il y a aussi... oui.
Okay, how do you identify that you've been traumatized or you have just kind of trauma? There are some symptoms that we need to consider. The first symptom is what you call revival, or you just reviviscence, where you are reliving the traumatic event again and again. The second one is the repeated remembrance of events. Then also you may have also some nightmares or flashbacks. Then also, continuez, vous pouvez continuer. Donc j'ai terminé à traduire donc les cauchemars, les flashbacks.
D'accord. Donc il y a aussi des altérations qui surviennent au niveau cognitif et émotionnel. Donc,
there are some events that affect our mind cognitively, that the mind that can just disturb our cognitive balance of thinking.
Comme par exemple l'incapacité à se rappeler un aspect important de l'événement traumatique. Par exemple, je donnerai l'exemple, c'est connu, des victimes, par exemple, de viol. En général, quand elle est interviewée ou quand on lui demande à quoi ressemble la personne, le violeur, dans plusieurs cas, elle oublie le visage, les vêtements, où c'est survenu, et c'est tout à fait fréquent. Donc, on a tendance à oublier parfois un événement ou un élément très important de l'événement traumatique.
On this category or symptom of just cognitive and emotional change in our thinking, there is what we call forgetfulness. We are not able to remember what happened, the important aspects of the traumatic event. For example, when they ask you what were the clothing that the rapist was putting on, or the torturer was putting on, you may just forget, not because you are not telling the truth, but also because you have that kind of imbalance in thinking. Forgetfulness is one of.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, il y a aussi, on développe des croyances négatives persistantes et exagérées au sujet de soi-même, des autres et du monde.
We have also persistent and exaggerated negative beliefs and feelings about yourself, about others, and about the world. And you would say, well, the world is not really fair.
On a aussi tendance à se blâmer, à avoir des émotions négatives persistantes, comme la peur, l'horreur, la colère, la culpabilité, la honte, et on a tendance à rester coincé et bloqué dans ces émotions négatives, ne pouvant pas sortir de ces croyances négatives et de ces émotions négatives. Et il en résulte aussi la diminution de l'intérêt pour les activités, le sentiment de détachement d'autrui et les restrictions de tout ce qui est émotion positive. D'où justement l'importance de ce que vient d'exposer Gougou et Jamila sur l'importance justement de prendre soin de soi-même, d'identifier ses émotions, de rester connecté, d'avoir une bonne qualité justement de connexion et de relation avec des personnes qui nous entourent.
What the previous presenter, Gugu and Jamila, talked about quality, connectedness, and also self-management. There is also one of the criteria where you realize that a person who is a trauma victim has a tendency to blame themselves. They have just negative persistence, negative emotion, the fear, horror, anger, guilt, and so forth. They are just put in a tight corner where they are just helpless. They only think of the guilt and shame. But also all these result in the decrease in interest of the activities we are working on. You don't have any interest at all. Then also you can feel detached from others who are just isolated, psychologically isolated from others. Then also you don't even enjoy the positive emotions. I mean, positive emotions don't really matter for you.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, il faut aussi se rappeler que le bien-être psychologique ou la santé psychologique ne peut pas être séparé de la santé physique. Si on est affecté aussi profondément par ce qu'on appelle le stress post-traumatique ou des traumatismes, on a aussi tendance à changer et à être affecté sur le plan physique. Beaucoup d'études ont montré que les victimes de traumatismes ont subi des changements au niveau du système nerveux central. Donc, ce n'est pas uniquement sur le plan comportemental ou sur le plan émotionnel, c'est quelque chose qu'on peut aussi voir et observer au niveau du fonctionnement du système nerveux central et même de la morphologie du système nerveux central. Et comment on peut reconnaître qu'il y a eu justement cette affection ou cette atteinte du système nerveux central? On peut trouver donc des réactions comme l'irritabilité ou l'excès de colère. On a tendance à devenir beaucoup plus coléreux, beaucoup plus nerveux que d'habitude. On a un comportement imprudent ou autodestructeur. On a tendance à beaucoup boire, à beaucoup avoir de relations sexuelles non protégées, à fumer beaucoup et avoir des comportements peut-être à risque, d'être hyper vigilant tout le temps. Donc, on a tendance à se sentir menacé tout le temps. On a des sursauts, on a des difficultés de concentration. On a aussi et surtout des difficultés de sommeil.
The trauma does not really affect our emotions or our psychological being, but also we need to understand that any aspect of trauma has a connection with the physical, physiological being. So there are reactions that can happen to our central nervous system. And once we are affected by the trauma, we may exhibit some kind of irritability, excess of anger. We have a self-destructive behavior where we indulge ourselves in sex, in unprotected sex, into beer. We booze a lot to try to bury our trauma into the alcohol. We have also the hypervigilant. You are just suspecting of everything that you go over and over, even a simple matter, you become so vigilant. There are also some difficulties in concentration where your attention sags anytime, and also sometimes you have insomnia problems, sleep, difficult to sleep, or you sleep, then you wake up when the time is not yet in the middle of the sleep.
Merci beaucoup. Maintenant, qui est concerné par le traumatisme? Est-ce qu'uniquement la personne qui a subi donc, le choc émotionnel, ou alors son entourage, ou alors les personnes qui l'accompagnent? Pour ça, il y a en fait différents niveaux de traumatisme. On va les voir ensemble. Donc, tout d'abord, il y a le traumatisme primaire. Donc, qui est victime de ce type de traumatisme? Ce sont tous les survivants et les survivantes des traumatismes, donc des événements traumatiques. Il y a aussi donc, ce qu'on appelle le traumatisme. Donc,
we have types of trauma, but who is concerned with the trauma? Who does it affect? First, primary trauma, it affects the survivor of all types of the traumatic events. Then we have a second one, which is secondary traumatization. And also for secondary traumatization,
oui,
vous pouvez continuer, madame.
Alors, le traumatisme secondaire, donc là, on peut souffrir du traumatisme d'un ou d'une proche, même si je n'ai pas d'une manière directe subi le traumatisme ou l'acte traumatisant, je peux souffrir du traumatisme par exemple, les enfants qui ont des parents qui ont vécu des formes de traumatisme ou qui ont été témoins de formes de violence ou de traumatisme, les amis, les proches, les parents peuvent développer donc, ce qu'on appelle le traumatisme secondaire et avoir justement souffrir du syndrome de stress post-traumatique.
Their secondary trauma affects people who help the traumatized people or those who have eyewitnessed the trauma. Then also our helpers, maybe parents, kids, and our loved ones may also suffer what you call secondary trauma.
Donc, il y a donc le cercle proche familial ou amical. Il y a aussi donc les professionnels qui sont dans l'accompagnement des personnes qui ont subi des traumatismes et qui ont vécu ou été témoins d'un acte traumatisant ayant été subi par un autre. Mais aussi,
there are donc those who can be affected, can be then our close circle. Means our dear ones, those who are close to us, but also the professionals, psychologists who give psychosocial support also can suffer from the story of the event, they have been narrated to by a victim, and also they can also suffer from secondary trauma.
Mais surtout, il y a aussi les professionnels, il y a tous les aidants, les personnes qui accompagnent les victimes de traumatisme. Donc, ces personnes-là peuvent souffrir de ce qu'on appelle le vicarious trauma ou le traumatisme vicariant. Et donc, ça concerne en fait le fait d'écouter des histoires, des récits de traumatisme chez une autre personne. Et donc, sur ce niveau, il y a des professionnels, ils ont un très haut risque d'avoir ou de souffrir de traumatisme vicariant.
The vicarious trauma affect people who are exposed to the accounts of the trauma victim. They listen to the traumatic event that a person has gone through. Then also professionals like psychosocial support professionals, but also HRDs are at a high risk.
Donc, ces personnes ont un risque très, très élevé d'avoir ce genre de traumatisme. Et je donnerai un exemple très banal pour expliquer ce que c'est qu'un traumatisme vicariant. Par exemple, quand on regarde un film, le film, c'est un film qui raconte une histoire triste. On n'est pas concerné par les événements du film. On ne connaît pas les personnes qui sont des acteurs et des actrices dans ce film. Et on se retrouve, par exemple, à pleurer ou à avoir de la peine ou à se sentir un peu triste en regardant ces personnages évoluer et avoir des histoires tristes. Donc, c'est un exemple banal. Merci.
A funny example that I would like which is worth mentioning, is when you watch a movie where a actor is going through difficult times, then after the movie or during the movie, you realize that the movie watcher or viewer start crying. That is a type of vicarious trauma.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, pourquoi cette présentation autour du traumatisme? C'est pas du tout, je le dis tout le temps, c'est pas du tout pour vous communiquer la peur d'avoir un traumatisme, mais surtout pour prévenir du risque justement lié à votre activité, lié au risque que vous prenez tout le temps, et pour justement vous inciter à identifier vos émotions, parce que ce qui aide aussi, au-delà de toutes les stratégies justement de connexion, d'avoir des activités, c'est surtout d'être en connexion avec soi-même et de reconnaître ses propres émotions. Donc, au moindre signe, il ne faut pas avoir peur ni honte de demander de l'aide. Il ne faut pas avoir peur d'en parler à des personnes de confiance et à des personnes qui comprennent justement ce risque que vous encourez tous les jours. Il y a juste... je vous laisse traduire, comme ça je vais pas...
Merci. Thank you. I would like just to say, why do I give all this lecture? It's not just to frighten you. Please don't fear, but it's a matter of just enlightening you so that you are able to identify emotions and you put in place strategies to handle those negative emotions through connectedness and self-management. And je voudrais donc vous dire que vous avez donc 1 minute seulement pour donc conclure.
D'accord. Juste un dernier truc, il y a un excellent article, il y a une version en anglais, donc je vais vous mettre le lien sur la conversation. Donc cet article, en fait, ça parle d'une étude qui a été menée par le Centre pour les droits de l'homme et la justice mondiale de l'Institut Robert Bernstein, et elle a été faite sur 346 personnes basées dans une douzaine de pays. Et donc, les résultats qu'ils ont trouvés, c'est que parmi les défenseurs des droits de l'homme, il y a eu 19% qui semblaient souffrir de troubles post-traumatiques, 19% qui présentaient des symptômes marqués de troubles aussi post-traumatiques, 15% qui semblaient donc souffrir de dépression et 19% indiquaient souffrir de surmenage.
So there is an interesting, I would like to conclude by telling you that there was an interesting study conducted by Albert Einstein Institute, where they interviewed 346 people and shows how people really suffering from trauma, work, just burnout, and the other stuff. It's just in English. I'm going to share it with you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Café. Excusez-moi si je ne prononce pas bien ton nom. Je voudrais donc vous remercier. Vitali, est-ce que vous êtes en ligne? Vitali, are you online, please? Can you hear me? Vitali, if Vitali is not online, I would like just to really ask the participants to forward the questions just through the posting. Then we can just ask the panelists to conclude. You have only just 1 minute, panelists, to conclude each one. So we have now 3 minutes to go while waiting for the questions from participants. We start with Gugu Shabalala. Just 1 minute to conclude. When you are concluding, give your point of view, then also try to give technical advice or recommendation what we should do. It's the first step that we have to, about 48 or 50 people. Gugu Shabalala.
Hello.
Gugu Shabalala. Oh, okay. Vitali, I can hear you. Just 1 minute for music to soothe our mind and the hearts.
Mama mkandani toka nje usikie.
Okay, Gugu, Vitali, thank you very much. Though there's some kind of echo, but
Mama mkandani toka nje usikie. Utoe kila siku ndani toka basi usikie. Weka kauhaibuni rudi Afrika usikie. Wewe miaka yote mbali rudi basi usikie. Kuna habari inavuma vuma 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 vuma.
Thank you, Gugu Shabalala.
Democracy, demonstration of greatness. Viongozi wanajivunia wa Tanzania, wananchi tunavumilia wa Tanzania.
Gugu Shabalala, prepare yourself, please. As Vitali Mayemba finishes.
safu safu wanapita, wamejaa kwenye mitaa, na mabango wameshika, halilia nchi yao, halilia mbuga zao, halilia migodi yao, na wengine wanajipanga wakiwadai mlima wao.
Thank you, Gugu Shabalala. Thank you, Gugu Shabalala.
Watawaua na wenzao, kumbe imekwisha, kumbe imetoweka maji, kumbe imeficha, kumbe haina.
Gugu Shabalala, thank you very much. I like it. Kila siku useme. Thank you very much. No, I'm sorry. I was just talking to Vitali. Thank you, Vitali. Kila siku, every day, usikie. Just listen to your emotions, listen to the problems, and know how to handle, and also get support, connectedness. Gugu Shabalala, 1 minute.
Thank you, Janvier. I think for me, just my takeaway or something that I would advise for all of us is find something that works for you, even in your connectedness. Find something that works for you and stick to it. Do things that are going to revitalize, that are going to add to you. We are in a very stressful time where everything is unpredictable. So it's important that you find like some form of normalcy for you. It doesn't have to be anyone's normal. Just find something that works for you and stick to it and establish a routine that will work for you over this period until you feel like your feet are on the ground and you're more stable. Because right now everything is still very shaky and one doesn't know what will happen next. We can't talk of, okay, after COVID, because we don't know when it will end. So just take it one day at a time and be patient with ourselves. We are all new in this. This is something that we all are learning or trying to navigate. It's all our first time dealing with a pandemic. So just be gentle with yourself, be conscious of what you're doing, and practice quite a lot of self-love and forgiveness for yourself, because things have changed and we all figuring out how to navigate this new change. Thank you, Janvier.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mama Jamila. Jamila, the floor is yours. Conclude.
Thank you. For me, well-being or self-management is best addressed through multidimensional approaches, where it starts from the basic family unit, where you need to take care of yourself from the basic family unit up to the national level, where we see our governments taking care of their people. So in self-management, everybody is a stakeholder and everybody needs to participate. Now, well-being focuses a lot on human rights, and human rights starts with the individual and then it stretches to the community. So if you don't take care of the self, how will you be able to take care of the community? So you need to start loving yourself, like Google says. You need to start loving yourself. Only when you have self-love, then you'll be able to share the love with the community. So research has shown that people with mental illness, they die earlier than those with infectious diseases like COVID-19. So it's important to take care of your mental well-being, even more important than maybe COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Jamila. It is very good that we have to really take care of ourselves. Of course, having each person having their own normalcy. Madame Hajel Kefi.
Oui, alors, moi je vais
Une minute s'il vous plaît pour conclure.
Moi, je vais conclure aussi comme dans la continuité de ce qu'a dit Jamila et Gougou, il faut vraiment être patient avec soi-même. Il faut se rappeler aussi que rien n'est une fatalité. Nous avons tous nos propres ressources internes. Il faut bien s'écouter, il faut se donner confiance. Il ne faut pas aller au-delà de ses propres limites. Il faut être vraiment très indulgent avec soi-même et prendre soin de soi, c'est très, très important. On ne peut pas aider les autres tant qu'on ne peut pas s'aider soi-même et tant qu'on ne s'écoute pas soi-même. Donc, il faut toujours se rappeler ça.
Merci beaucoup. In the same vein, I would like just to really add to what, or reiterate what Jamila and Gugu Shabalala have said. You have to be patient of yourself. When something happens, trauma comes and so forth. It's not the fatality, it's not the end of the world. Life continues. Take care of yourself. Just unplug and continue to work and so forth, so that you will not really have a big, heavy impact. That trauma cannot have heavy impact on yourself. So thank you very much. I don't know, we have just 9 minutes to go. As I'm just waiting for the questions, some or area of clarifications, I would like just to request Vitali Mayembe to play only 1 minute song. Just if it is 1 minute, I would like to request the authority from the IT team. If 1 minute reaches, just cut Vitali. Vitali, if you can hear me, please, you can just play 1 song for wishing us in evening as we digest on the what I've said, and invite 2 or 3 questions to ask. Also, I will be happy if you have understood all the presentations, explanations, and hope defenders to also organize similar event, because it helps us to connect to each other, listen to each other. Thank you very much and share experience. Vitali Mayembe.
Usipoteza wewe atakuwatatiza, usipoteza wewe ila niwe atakumbewa tatiza. Kama mwanitanda mbele anasema sisi tunakumkore itakesha ingoma mpaka myafuate takayo kalima. walinipiga sana, wakazani nimekufa, wakanitisha sana, wakazani nitanyamaza. Nani anakuja na nini atuogopi? Nani anakuja kakubwa na nani atuogopi? Wewe funga tukuta wajikazi mapumziki atuogopi? Palete tena. Lete caralita, lete loso, lete pila. Mano hatuja koma kuwaimba masisani. Palete tena. Mano hatuja choka kuilinda nchi yetu. Palete tena. Waje na mabomu ya machozi. Palete tena. Waje na maji ya kuwasha. Palete tena.
Thank you, Shabal. Thank you, Vitali. Thank you very much, Vitali. Thank you. We appreciate this musical accompaniment, soothing our minds, enlightening our hearts, and also delighting our hearts. It's very important that we keep ourselves well, mentally, physically, because any event, whether physical or mental, is psychosomatic. It touches the soul, the mind, and also the body. So I would like just to see, I've been combing through the postings. I don't really see any kind of question, unless there is a burning question you would like to ask. You can raise your hand, but what I've just noted is that this is an important program, and this program should also trickle down to our volunteers, especially volunteer human rights defenders who are just on the grassroots level. And it will be good if also they benefit. They also said that this is practical presentations, and learning through practical could be good if there could be any exchange program to this, so that people from this area could go to that area, see how they manage. If there is no any burning issue to ask, I would like just to really thank you and request again Vitali Mayembe to be preparing, to put an end to this webinar with the musical note. So I would like just to thank especially panelists, starting from Hajel El-Kafi, who has given us some insights on trauma and how to deal with it, how to identify. Gugu Shabalala, who enlightened us practically on how we could connect ourselves to others, to professionals, friends, and so forth, and also to relatives, especially by identifying confidence within our friendship community, also going to the professional psychosocial support giver. And also, last but not least, Mama Jamila, who has helped us to see how we could just do what we call self-care. Financially, you know, all these issues, finances and so forth, how we can change, learn from this COVID and change COVID environment into opportunities. Thank you very much. Are we together? Are we together, Vitali Mayembe? Mayembe Vitali. If Mayembe Vitali is not just online or has some technical problems, we do understand one of facilitate kind of this webinar in a professional way so that we cannot face these difficulties. So I think defenders and all stakeholders have taken note of that. We are working on having a professional room or professional channel, medium we can have, and we will be as if we are just at home talking to each other without any difficulties. But for this event, it has been a success. Let us now tap our shoulders to say thank you, and you say kudos to yourself, to myself, to the organizers, to all the people who have been involved, the donors, and also these IT people who have really helped us. Thank you very much. Without further ado, I would like just to thank you and say good evening. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you so much and bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, defenders.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Thank you,
Jamila,
Uncle
asante
Janvier
sana.
and Kalisa.
Lucy
Asante
Mwangi,
sana
asante
pia.
sana.
Have a great weekend.
Karisa, asante sana. Great weekends too.
Merci beaucoup, Janvier.
Monyala.
Merci.
Thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you so much.
All my colleagues, thank you.
Gugu Shabalala, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Donatien Armand, thank you. Violette Chonchonya, thank you very much. Celestine Mestros, thank you very much. Zeud Menge, thank you. Heza, Eddie Gladness, Edne, Fasiha, Keza, thank you very much. Lilian Msolo. There is also iPhone 10.
Through the continent. Leave, mommy is giving. We are alive.
Noel Kabeya, we have really appreciated your attendance, and thank you very much. Thank you, all of us. We are really happy. Let us stay connected.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Okay, let's leave now.
We have appreciated. Thank you. Helen Gatune, thank you very much.
You want us to be thank you very much.
Eden, thank you. All the best. Great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this, Javier. Can I end, Janvier?
Yes, please.
Can I end the meeting?
Please do so. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, let me end it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're welcome. Nice weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, great. Thank you. All the best. See you next week. But stay connected, as Shabalala mentioned.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.